Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditam Astuma Viddhishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May that one protect us both. May that one nourish us both. May we work together with great energy. May we study in a illumined way. May we not unnecessarily cavil with each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So, welcome to the Vedanta Series question and answer. I hope you got an extra hour's sleep today. And so I'm going to pause and mute myself while you formulate a useful question, and then we can answer it.
Swamiji, I have a question about the three gunas. Are they just a state of mind? So do they exist only in the awake and the dream part of our existence? So are they connected to our body-mind experience? Are they just a state of mind, or does it go beyond that?
Okay, thank you for that question. There is a chapter in the Bhagavad Gita which is entitled the Yoga. To go further, 16. If you go to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14 is entitled the Yoga of the Division of the Three Gunas. And so we can go through that in answer to your question. The overall answer, however, is that when we consider the outside world, first of all, we consider that we are standing in a certain position, and what we call the outside world is outside that, and it's something we have to deal with. But in reality, when we look at it carefully, it's not like that. Because in doing that and taking that standpoint, we're putting ourselves outside of nature. But are we not a part of nature? Is our body not part of all the materials that go to make the overall nature? Is it not made of the same essential constituents? How is it separate? So there's a tendency to think that organic life and the life that is formed from hydrogen and stars is entirely different. So the way in which the old ancient philosophers thought was, what happens in one area will happen everywhere. This generalization is very useful. If we have a body and a mind and are dealing with life and expressing energy, and energy is as a kind of localized wave system that we call body and mind, or all called I, then is the universe also something like that? Is the universe something like a cosmic entity with an overall body? And this in Vedanta is called Purusha, cosmic person. If there is such a thing as a cosmic person, the whole universe then comprises its body. It has a mind, it has a will. We call this divine will. This wonderful technique of detracting everything back to original generalized source is really the technique of modern science as well. We want to find what is the unity of existence somewhere. But no doubt we can divide the universe into three ways. The whole of existence, the whole of the objective existence as we know it, is really categorized in three ways. These are called gunas. Guna itself means something that binds us. And if we take this world to be the entire reality, something like an absolute reality, it is an obvious mistake. It is only a relative reality. It is there relative to something else, relative to an observer somewhere. The material in front of us, whether it's trees or flowers or sky, is only because the eyes see it. Beautiful songs arriving at the point of the ear is only because the ear hears it. So the point of contact with this world is the fivefold sense organs, and the queen bee of them called the mind. It is really in the overall instrument that we call the mind that these real organs are there in an internal way. They're a part of the Sankhya analysis of the mind called Antakarana, that is internal instrument. And the internal instrument registers everything. It all begins with the mind. It doesn't begin with the instrument of the mind or the aspects of the body. So let us have an overall understanding of this. If this truth is not compatible with modern physics, we have to leave it off. But you'll see that it is highly compatible with modern physics because all these ancient observers were scientists. They wanted to explore what is this universe? What we call the cosmos, what is that? I can't exclude myself from it. I have to be part and parcel of it. My problem is I can't see the overall totality of it. So these gunas in physics would be the capacity or the urgency or the tendency to unite everything. And this uniting factor, this unity position, we describe as Sattva. The term Sattva is derived from root Sat. It has a number of different meanings. We can put in three meanings. It is that which is existent, as far as we know it. Because it is existent, not non-existent, not changing, etc. It is also called, and we can see that the root source of it we call Sat. Its derivative then would be something that is pure, something that is truthful. Purity is also implied, clarity is implied, and also illumination is implied. There's a reason why all of this is implied. But let us go to the next guna, the next rope that binds us, the next strand of the same rope really, and that is rajas. That is that thing which is to do with activity in the universe. So we have gravitational energy trying to pull things in, electrical energy trying to disperse everything out. This balance between this winding in and winding out, this is responsible for all the activity in the universe. What we might call attraction, repulsion is going on. But there's a reason for it. Everything is trying to get back to an experience of unity and freedom. And then when you want your car to go, it doesn't want to stop. So inertia has to come in. This we call tamas. You can apply this formula everywhere, in every experience, at every level, whether it is emotional level, whether it is the thinking level, whether it is the universal level, whether it is the physics level. And these can be viewed in the mind, the psychological level, as three ways of dealing with the world. Dealing with the world because we are ourselves an independent entity, and being independent, all these gunas will have a faculty and a facility. It will be used for something. We have to use it to do something. So Katha Upanishad will give us an example of a chariot. We can update it in modern terminology and say something like a car with three gears operating. You call these Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. At any moment in time, in order to make sense of what we have here, we have to move things and shift things to the most noble position, the most truthful position, the most illuminating position. And the most illuminating position is a position that does not have any egocentric motive in it. I'm not doing something for my own good, because this sattva has all the pure and noble qualities and virtues in it. And anything other than that will be centered around an egocentric position. The egocentric position, to do with the ego, selfishness in brief, is the cause of all our difficulties, and it is the one key obstacle that has to be removed. It is also the most stubborn. It is also the most difficult. This is why we start our training in the era of Vedanta Society, for those who never heard about these subjects, with this course, Enneagram and Essence of Truth. In a few weeks, we are doing part 1. A few weeks later, part 2. Because there's no such thing as standard ego. We all have something different. And the difference is dependent on what we brought forward from a previous life, there being a continuum of causation, cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, and a central purpose for perfection within it, driving us forward to continue. And then our response to the environment that we have is based on that. And this response is response to the primary influences in our life, all the parents and those who are older than us, those who are people who set the example. And again, we are looking for the answer, how should we behave? How should we structure our strategy in this life? So these non-standard egos have to be dealt with in an individual, non-standard way. But overall, to remove this ego, 2 things are necessary. We can use 2 alternate means necessary. The one alternate mean is to think that all of these diverse people and places and events in front of us, all these limbs, hands, arms, eyes, etc., wherever we are, not just human, but also every type and every expression, even non-mammal or non-insect, they all have eyes, they all have some means of registering vibration and sound, but also plants and trees. Jagadish Chandra Bose, who was a dear friend and also confidant of Sister Nivedita, he was very keen to understand, is there any sensitivity in plants? We tend to dismiss trees and grass and all that as completely insentient, not understanding that they have a tendency to move toward the sun, to respond, to change. In other words, to survive. We don't have to give them an instruction manual in order to teach them how to grow, how to bring out all the best from the soil through a root system, bringing up water sufficient to nourish the plant, and bringing life-giving energy, electrical energy from the sun, photoelectric energy. All of these things, highly complex, we cannot say belongs to an insentient entity. In fact, when we look closely at the whole universe, we see it is really sentient. And the sentiency is this play between these 3 gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Naturally, it applies in the mind as well. Stopping briefly to see what is the condition of the mind at any given moment. Is it in the category of Sattva or Rajas and Tamas? What will we do with it? This whole world that we see is caused not by conventional causation. Conventional causation is the play of these three gunas, the combination, the dance. But the actual illusion itself, the actual play itself that is constantly changing, applied to Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, all of these will register it. And anybody who looks at this world very closely will see that now you see it, now you don't. Something like a magic show. And the word Maya is derived from this root that means magic. Something that we measure. Now at the very fundamental level of physics, when you try to measure a particle, something that is the smallest thing that we can ever register, something that it now goes to what is called quantum level, that is a packet of something, behaving like a packet, a burst of this, a burst of that, something sequential. We would think we can measure it. When we try to measure it, and when we leave it alone, we get a different result, a different reading, and ask the question, what is this? What is it? So we have to look for a very different kind of causation. Technically, this causation is called vivarta. We can call it apparitional causation. What are the components of this apparition? It is these three gunas. The capacity to hide what the reality is. The capacity to project some apparition in front of us. And also the capacity to reveal it. This is called Maya, or Mahamaya, this great mother of all, hiding, projecting, and revealing. It is she herself, we put in feminine form, Mother Nature, she herself who does it. And if she withholds her grace, if she withholds the revealing aspect, then we are stuck with a very painful scenario where we are projecting something that is really not there, even though the clue is there, and the reality is being hidden from us. How to reveal this? We reveal this psychologically by understanding at any given moment what is the condition of the mind, and then playing a game, given that it is within a structure, it is within an environmental structure that is called time and space and causation itself, and also function. This time is registered and it is in our favor. It is there because, supposing we want to type 100 letters, we can't do it all at once, but everything is there to do it. The capacity to type is there. The capacity to know what we want to write is there in advance. The fingers are there to do it. The body is there to do it. The alphabet is there to do it. The word is there to do it. The knowledge of grammar is there to do it. But we can't do it all in one go. It just creates confusion. We can only do it word by word, letter by letter, thought by thought. And so this wonderful gift, the structure of time, is extremely useful to us. We can really only operate within it. We can take advantage of it. It's a gift. Space is the other gift. Because in space, again, it is given to us so that we will be prevented from knowing where everything is at once. That kind of knowledge will be extremely confusing to us. Time is nature's gift to us, which says that we can never know everything at once. We can't know everything in terms of its position. We cannot know everything in terms of where it is and what it's doing. Overall, this is actually called Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. We can never know what a thing is doing, and at the same time, know where it is. That's the whole basis of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which simply states that this uncertainty can never be less than Planck's constant. And we don't have to know anything about Planck's constant. In other words, it sets a limit of our uncertainty. So we are living in an uncertain world, and yet we take it to be absolutely real. The wonderful prayer, I said it this morning with a group, Asatoma Satgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotya Gamaya, Mrityo Amritam Gamaya. So, caught in this web, how will we manage it? Well, we have to pray for something that we personally cannot manage. Please lead us from the unreal to the real. In other words, we take all of this in front of us to be real and react in a real way. In other words, with blaming, resentment, hostility, uncertainty, doubt, anger, all of these things are reactions to the misunderstanding. This is real. There's an absolute thing here. As soon as we understand it's a mistake, then we understand also there's no need to react in these particular ways. So how to revalue what we have here? There is something that is real, that never changes. If it wasn't there, we can never register what the changes are. And that is called the real, because it doesn't come, it doesn't go, it has no parts, it's not assembled, it doesn't dissemble. And then from darkness to light. The same term as the gunas is used, from Tamas. From Tamas to light. Lead us from Tamas, lead us from darkness indicating complete ignorance. Masadhya Sukta tells us about the phrase, darkness on top of darkness. No matter what you can imagine, supposing you look at the entire universe and you look at it on its darkest night, supposing you're a space explorer, you won't find much in the universe. It's very dilute. The density of the outer space is not much, and all you'll find is darkness. Add to it darkness on top and see what you have. You can register it as nothing. But of course, something must be there. Some potentiality must be there. Now, if you make a mistake about something, then that something must be there already. Supposing you think that you see a friend in the distance dressed in a hat, then you go close and you see, oh, it's a tree or a tree stump with a little foliage on the top, mistaken for a hat. Well, you don't mistake it for anybody else. You must have known your friend before you made the mistake. There must be some resemblance. You can use many examples like this. Typical example that is used in non-dualism, Advaita, is the example of going out in the twilight, mistaking something coiled up, and immediately jumping to a wrong conclusion. The wrong conclusion will be, this is a snake. The fear will come, it will bite me. It will attack me. So the whole of life, if we interpret in this way, will be a life of struggle. It will be a life of self-defense. There will be a day-to-day inner feeling of fear, going from one thing to another, not being in any satisfactory position to solve anything, just living in an ad hoc way, and ultimately a responsive way. And the responsive way would be an impulse that is as a result of all this desire and temptation and fear that is within us, all registered along these two lines, Rajas and Tamas. Sattva is made up of predominantly pure waves. We can see it as a wave system. But Rajas and Tamas are also wave systems. And these wave systems will combine and recombine and create our confusion, the projection of something that is not there. Supposing we say, what is the clue? In the example of snake and the rope, because the rope is mistaken for a snake. When we see the snake and see it closely with the revealing capacity within us, this is Sattva. We can also attribute it to the divine and say, the divine grace revealed it. Yes, because every revealing capacity is called divine grace. This one grace that is manifesting, that is the structure, and that is the result of the structure, that is the cause, that is the effect. This one entity is only a manifested form, seemingly constricted, conditioned, as it were, by the structure of time and space and function, cause and effect. And it is within this that the structure is made, and we can view it like a dance of waves. This is a cosmic dance. No need to take it so seriously then. If it is a cosmic dance, then the next thing we have to inquire about, who or what or where is the cosmic dancer? This cosmic dancer and the dance itself is the same thing, just as when an artist performs a dance, we can't separate the act of dancing from the dancer. What we call the dance is just the mobilized movements of limbs belonging to the dancer. This cosmic dancer is there, and if we don't penetrate its reality, then it becomes a puzzle to us, and the puzzle also becomes binding to us. And that binding moment allows us to respond in awkward ways, pain-bearing ways. So psychologically, how do we overcome it in the mind, and what will help us, and how will it help our behavior, all behaviors in the mind? Like going along in a motor car, 3 gears being available. If we notice that Tamas is operating, let us shift the gear to Rajas. Let us not be lazy. Let us arise and wake and don't stop until the goal is reached. It requires little Rajas. And then we can't stop there, because Rajas also will give us difficulties. We have to find the smoothest gear. Let us elevate the mind to Sattva. Let us continuously repeat all the highest values, strength and beauty and goodness and love and harmony. Let us put it in and see if we can play the game well. What is our job? Playing the game. Playing the game with the available material of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Taking every thought and stock of every thought and feeling and elevating it to the highest. If you feel miserable, nobody loves you, take that feeling and change it completely to transfer to giving, open love of God. Non-demanding love of God, not selfish, not a closing thing, an opening thing. The whole of Sattva is an opening thing, a revealing thing, a clarifying thing. Play a game like that. What would be the practical use of it? Everybody wants happiness. There's nobody who says, I want to be unhappy, so that's okay. And so to make one happy, we have to take away all the roots of the pain. And we do that by promoting all these waves of Sattva. That has the effect of providing us with a sense of unity. Unity and oneness would automatically create happiness, because unhappiness requires a second thing, or a third thing, or a fourth thing, or a fifth thing. It requires multiplicity. But Sattva has the effect of making a unity. And we do that. When we do that, we're also elevating the emotional spirit. We feel elevated, we feel rapturous, we feel joyful. We have the capacity to sustain all these joyful moments, second by second. And second by second means the structure is very convenient for this to happen. We put something in a second. Next second, put something. Next second, put something. The usual example I give is, let us allocate you 20 seconds. In 20 seconds, what will you do? What blank moments will you fill? First moment comes along, is to do with Rajas or Tamas. First second comes along, we see its condition. We don't repress it. We don't push it down. It's a wave, and the nature of a wave is to come and go. Let it come, let it go. Come if you want. You're coming from my past history, my childhood. Come if you want, stay if you can. Go if you must. While you're here, have a cup of tea, sit down. I won't entertain you too well. I don't want you to stay unnecessarily too long, but I'll allow you a few moments. Making the Lord of the universe your grand scorekeeper, you allocate 4 seconds. Please come, 4 seconds you stayed, and you're being watched. A grand scorekeeper is there, ask him to keep score. Lord, will you keep score? Lord says, yes, -4. All right, -4 over 20 seconds. I have 16 seconds available now to put something useful in. Something useful which clarifies the mind. Something useful that has the capacity to change my habit level. More, has the capacity to change the world. Because once I saturate the mind with noble qualities, I become like a huge light, like a lamp, like a lighthouse warning of dangers. And also distributing blessings everywhere in the spirit of generosity and service. I become an inspiration to all. And the minimum requirement for it is 51% Sattva and 49% other things, Rajas, Tamas. Keeping score like this and playing the game of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, the game of the Gunas, I can then fill the mind with 16 positive thoughts. Thoughts of generosity and truth and beauty and goodness and love and harmony, put it in. Play a game like that. Lord, how is my score? -4, very good. +16, very good. Net result, +12. We can then put it in our fixed deposit account in the unconscious mind. We are now in the black instead of the red. Our financial, our internal psychological condition is financially sound. Wonderful. Play a game like that. Keep building it, keep building it, keep building it, particularly when the mind is not necessarily occupied with anything in particular. I normally use the example of brushing the teeth. In brushing the teeth, the mind wanders off. Normally, when the mind is left free and undirected, it selects all the old habits. All the old friends of my childhood come up and surface. This person at work is awkward. Next second, I think I'll give them a piece of mind when I get to the work. Next second, maybe I put poison in their coffee. Next second, I hope they drink it. 4 seconds all wasted. Put in a blessing attitude. Strong, true, wise, full, free. Direct the mind in this way. And in this way, gradually build up your buffer zone for awkward moments, so that when a crisis arises, there's a rich deposit of purity and love that you can resort to. That becomes your new behavioral trait. It becomes your habit. You become pure, you become sattvic, and things are clarified and purified. In this way, you can take all the psychological conditions that come up in waves, and the example for it is like a lake. The lake of the mind, according to Sankhya Yoga, is comprised of chitta. Chitta is all sattva. But when it is disturbed by vrittis, because you see, chitta is not your personal mind. Chitta is cosmic mind that has arrived, as it were, in a localized condition. We have selected, we have sucked in, we have drawn in an attractive way a section, as it were, of this universal chitta, this mind stuff. And within it, we have all these disturbances. We call these vrittis. And in these disturbances, these are 3 types of waves are there. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And as they display themselves in different ways, in different areas, we cannot see with great clarity through the water, if you use the analogy of a lake, and find out the bottom, find out what is clear. In the days of the COVID virus, the Ganga at Varanasi, I'm told, became like that, all polluted, so many parts per million of, the measurement for oxygen levels was in a dangerous condition. And you can see it, the clarity of the water or lack of clarity is there. And during the COVID virus, where factories closed and this and that, and so all the sewage was no longer deposited into Mother Ganga. With great reverence, deposit all the human waste that you possibly can, human and animal waste, and put it into your mother. A curious way of thinking, curious philosophy. During the COVID, those people who normally work there, along this section of the Ganga called Varanasi, one of the most ancient working cities in the world, and one of the most revered, if not the most revered in India, great site for pilgrimage. And there they managed to see coins that were offered by pilgrims, see them dazzling, shining at the bottom of this water. So what happened? They removed all of the toxic waste. In this way, we remove all the toxic waste in the mind, classified as rajas and tamas, whose characteristic is selfishness, egoism, operating everything, every thought, every word, every deed, for one's own promotion, one's own promoted benefit. Instead, we can take this ego and make it an open channel for divine grace to flow everywhere. Something like opening up a flower whose generosity is obvious. A flower will spread its scent everywhere. Its fragrance goes everywhere. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't say, no, if you're a fly who's just landed on something, then you need a visa to land on me. It says, come. Not only that, but every bee can come and collect my nectar, my pollen, and help distribute so that other flowers may grow everywhere. And is generous enough to say, look, I present such beautiful colors. I'm not asking for a permission. I'm not asking for a COVID certificate, whether you can see it, whether you can't. Just freely available to everyone, everywhere. Fragrance spreading everywhere with the cooperation of the wave system called the air wafting across, and nature being generous enough to give us suitable noses to catch it. What a generosity of spirit, not mean-minded in any way. Even though its roots are found in manure, with all this manure of life, we can take it with the great capacity of shifting the gears and transform it. Discord into harmony is the faculty that we have, and the game of life is to do it. Taking us through these gunas of tamas, rajas, sattva, until the mind becomes fully illumined, fully sattvic, shining. And in shining, we can't hide our light under a bushel or a bed. It shines everywhere and transforms others also. Characteristic of a saint, a holy person, completely non-selfish. Even in spiritual life, you see, there is this selfish ego. I am better than somebody else. I am superior. I am holy. Other people are not holy. As soon as you declare I am holy, you mean other people are not holy. As soon as you think I am wise, it means everybody else is a fool. So instead of taking that selfish, mean-minded position, which is a closing position, a shrinking position, let us open up. How do we do it? Of all these values, love is the highest value. Generous love. And that requires us to look at things in a different way. Seeing that everything is already pure and full and free and perfect. With that change of mind, in order to do that, we have to sit where the divine sits. We have to sit where the Creator creates. We have to rest on the divine cosmic throne. and see things from how the divine sees it, and bless it all from there. The human perspective is not like that. It's a complaining perspective. Why did God make a stupid world like this? The world is terrible. How do you know it? Because every day I listen to the news on the television, on the radio, newspaper, or in the internet and so on and so forth, all just delivering bad news, taking garbage and dumping it at my door. So I want only one rule for others, just a small request. Please don't you think my mind is a garbage dump where you can deposit all your rubbish. My mind is not a garbage dump. It is not a place where you can deposit all these influences that you get from your own experience, distorted by a man's perspective, human perspective. Elevate the mind and shift your position. Sit where God sits. Ask, how does God view it? You sit on his golden throne. How does it look? It looks like this. God made the world and saw that it was good. How is it that we see it as bad? We are made in that entity's image and likeness. Ramakrishna's example of various clay pots. We brought it up last night here. Various clay pots with water in it, all reflecting the sun. Not every pot is in a pristine condition. Some water in some pots are a little dirtier than others. Some are cleaner. Some reflect the sun more brilliantly. Some refract because of the angle of the sun. But if every pot gets smashed, the sun itself remains intact. Whatever was there remains there. All the other reflections disappear. What is this world of individuality? Just small pots, struggling in terms of creating an individuality which is not really there. What is there? The only individuality is the shining sun, the glorious Atman, the Lord of the universe, standing there, unblemished. In other words, full and free, Sattva, and yet not conditioned at its highest point. Its highest principle has neither Sattva nor Rajas nor Tamas, but it is Sat, existence itself. It is consciousness itself, Chit, and it is Ananda itself. You take the material body made from these three elements, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Obviously, the mental thinking aspect will be all Sattva. So like this, if you compare it to a rock will be predominantly all Tamas. But no particular item is entirely Sattva or Rajas or Tamas. You can never make the mind 100% Sattva, because then nothing moves, nothing operates. You can maybe make it 90, 95%. Minimum requirement, 51%. You do this carefully by playing this game of life. Elevating the mind constantly. No holiday for this game. But it is a game, and any game should be an enjoyable endeavor. So coming back now to this 14th chapter, we go through it very briefly. This teaching of these three gunas, it actually is a supreme knowledge. The best forms of knowledge, knowing which all the sages have passed from the state of bondage to the highest perfection, that is the highest knowledge, obviously. And they have devoted themselves to this knowledge, having attained my being, neither born at the time of creation, nor are they disturbed at the time of dissolution. But what is the process of birth that is discovered? So these are not just abstract qualities. The great nature, what we call nature, the great nature, as far as you can measure or see, and even beyond that, that is the divine womb. That is the source of all. You can see the concept of cosmic Purusha coming out here. In that place, In that I place the seed, like all beings, and that is the birth, becomes a manifested cosmos. All beings come from it. It's a very convenient way of looking at it. So the whole chapter is worth studying. In short, every student, every person in spiritual life will need to have a clear conception of these gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Sattva stands for all the virtues that purify the mind. Rajas promotes ego-sponsored work, and Tamas makes people blind to facts and incites them all to act, without any proper thought. But both Rajas and Tamas lead only to pain and lead to harm. Sattva, on the other hand, brings peace and harmony. Any sensible person will therefore want to promote this, who understands this. That is why a very clear concept has to be made of these. And so the earnest spiritual seeker would have to have or cultivate the art of watching the stream of ideas running through the mental field, and then soon identify that particular element, that particular guna that is in operation at the time of observing it. And when signs of tamas are there, they must gently usher in some favorite idea or scene that is captured in memory. I'm here in France on 30 acres of land. Anybody who lives here or stays here for any period of time can walk anywhere they like, enjoying what we typically call nature, and get inspiration from it. Walking out of the door this morning with an extra hour at our disposal, you're able to see something like a beautiful painted scene in front, where the sun rose, beautiful multicolors displayed nicely in the sky with the crescent moon in the corner. How can you fail, if you noticed it properly, not to get a feeling of elevation from such a scene? And so we can gently usher this in, not just at that time, but we can take a mental photograph of it. And any time we can replay this. We don't have to come to a certain place to do it. And as you get older, no doubt, and are keen to make a collection of these mental images and photographs and put them in the memory bank, we can use the art of bringing these out, bringing to the forefront of the mind, and helping us to inspire us at any given moment, particularly in meditation. And so some favorite idea or scene associated with this element of sattva can be brought out. And the same change to sattva must be made when rajas also is noticed. When rajas introduces us to its representative, we have to make that shift to sattva again. Most religions employ the art in their rituals and in their festivals. And these leave a valuable deposit in the memory bank, subconscious mind of every participant. We can use that. Even when we are bathing or dressing, doing any so-called mundane activity, preparing food, brushing the teeth, some of the more appealing impressions from this unconscious mind can come floating into the conscious field. They enter as friendly visitors. All the others will enter as non-friendly visitors, and they come in without any special invitation. They just come up by themselves. So if we are discerning, if we have an element of discernment in it, then we'll gladly welcome any of them and we'll coax them to please stay a little longer and add to the fervor that they are carrying. If we do this gradually, one stage will arrive when any single unit of thought that is prompted by tamas or rajas will immediately and effortlessly be followed by 8 or 16 sattva. That's the art. The divine auditor that we made, please keep score, can put the surplus units of sattva in a separate fixed deposit account for us, what we might call the habit level. And in turn, that will bring the total environment, unexpected factors will bring into us. It will bring a suction of favorable things, favorable for revelation. So by quietly enacting varieties of heart captivating, pure, enlightening, joyful, sattvic scenes in the conscious mind, we can start easily a chain reaction. And this does two things, of course. It immobilizes rajas and tamas, that's for sure. But it also opens the door for the flow of divine grace. And practice of this will no longer become a prolonged uphill struggle in religious life that becomes difficult and tedious, because it can turn out to be a continuous round of thankful, joyful adoration. It can be like that, directed to the Lord, seated within everyone. In fact, the Lord says himself, "Great souls partaking of my divine nature, worship me with a single mind, knowing me as the imperishable source of all beings." So always glorifying me, says Krishna, striving firm in vows, prostrating before me, they worship me with devotion. This is some of the words of Sri Krishna that he mentions in the context of this joyful endeavor that will be told in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 13th, 14th stanzas. So, enlightening themselves and then enlightening others also. People like that will speak of the divine. They will always want divine company. They will always want to talk about this. They won't want to talk about any other subject. They don't want any other company. They're always satisfied. They're always delighted. Now, a fortunate person like this is called Gunatita, somebody who has transcended these three gunas. You've risen above the whole of nature. When you rise above the whole nature, then you are controlling nature. This divine self can always be looked upon as a thinker, a knower, and a witness. A thinker because it is consciousness itself. A knower because it is existence itself. And a witness because it is always an enjoyer. It is always bliss. So these are some thoughts around this subject. I hope I answered the question. I see there's another question in chat. So somebody says, I have a follow-up question. When we practice meditation, do we practice this movement from tamas to rajas to sattva? The answer is yes. Is meditation itself the process of bringing ourselves to the sattva state? Yes, but sustaining it richly. That is as a process. Yes, it is not a blank, it is not a fixation or a focus like that. Then one more thing is, how about deep sleep? Do we feel at peace because we are merged into sattva from egocentric, from non-egocentric? Actually, we are merged in tamas, in the ultimate darkness. So, do we feel at peace because we are merged into sattva? No, we feel at peace because there's no second to fight with. And we, of course, no egocentricity, but no transformation. Sattva is transformative. This is the difference. Otherwise, we'll sit in meditation and fall asleep. There's a great difference between meditation and sleep. Sleep is characterized by tamas. Meditation is characterized by sattva. So, are we beyond sattva in deep sleep? I think I answered that question. All right, so we may leave it there for today. I should be back on the 7th of November. And happy Samhain in the event. On Monday in France, it is Toussaint, that means All Saints. And it gives us a chance also to think of all the great rishis, saints, and mystics that we follow as great examples, who are all gunatita, transcending the gunas.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.